Well, that's a little better. Hi, good evening. How's everybody? Better. Okay, so it sounds like we got decent audio. I'll pull this mic out here a little bit. So good evening. I'm so glad to be here with you tonight. I see George has got a question. I'll get to you in just a minute, George. So you might have noticed that you didn't get an ad before the stream started tonight. I have been experimenting with trying to figure out why excuse me, I'd have quite a few connected viewers, and then right as the stream started, they'd drop. And so I have disabled the ads for the live stream, and then I will re-enable them as soon as it ends tonight. So one of the bonuses, I guess, of catching up on the live stream is you don't get ads. Let's do a little roll call here, see who's in. Tim Myers is in, of course, from Dayton. The home of aviation, he says. Tom Downey's in from Whidbey. George, a.k.a. Dad's got a question on his awning. We'll get to that. Robert Covington's in from Tennessee. So nice to have you here. Hi, Judy. Great to have you here from Alabama. Vincent's coming to us from steamy Virginia, camped along the Potomac River with 1 bar of 4G service. Yeah, I sure get that. Let's see. Roundtown Scouter's in from Columbus. Eric's in. Eric Myers is here. Robert Black's here. And, George Gabor. Hi, George. If I had any thoughts on RV airflow systems. Yeah, we'll come back to your question in a minute, George. Or Joe, sorry. The Sandvan's in all the way from Australia. Sure have a fun channel. You need to go check those kids out. I call them kids because I think they're younger than I am. Regina's in from Kentucky, and Lawrence Broxton from Pensacola, Florida. My eyes are old, and I'm a little bit, something's giving off a little pollen because I'm a little bit allergy affected. I just took a Zyrtec. Hopefully that'll clear up my eyes so I can see better. So yeah, I thought maybe I would start tonight with just a quick preview, of a way upcoming future episode. This probably won't run till I'm guessing October at this rate, where I've been doing one of the truck camper videos a week. But I've made quite a lot of progress. I'm really happy with where I'm at. I wanted to be essentially where I am. I'm about a day late of kind of what I had scheduled in mind. Is I wanted to be done with all the structural repairs and everything at the end of July. And here we are, August. Boy, this summer is sure flying by, isn't it? But I'm going to share this with you here real quick. Just make sure that you've got audio in this place. Okay, so I'm not real happy with the fit and finish of this panel just yet. So I'm going to take this back out and make a few minor adjustments. And then I need to install the GIMP, the webbing. I'll show you that in a second. So that'll wrap up this corner. But for now I want to pop this back out and refit it. Alright. Screw. Pretty tight. There we pop out. Good. It's going to fit a little better here in a minute. So anyway, my OCD kicked in a little bit there, and I had to go back and refit that last piece of the back corner. But Yeah, so I've got all of the exterior walls completed. Um, Still a few minor things to do. I haven't cut out my window openings and stuff like that yet. I'm just leaving those in uh, until I get ready to do the insulation. Basically, I left them in at the start because I thought I might be doing foam, spray foam insulation, closed cell. But I've kind of worked through all of the details on the insulation now, and I know what I'm going to be doing with it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those out here soon. All right, we're going to roll over to the comments, and let's see who else is all in tonight. And then we'll go back and start with questions. Joe has got a question, and let's see. Lavina has a question. Regina Wood is. She says, "Good thing I don't live in Kentucky. Allergies terrible." Yeah, it's weird. You know what I think it is? It's not allergies. What am I thinking? It's smoke. We've got fires. The California smoke's getting in here a little bit. There's fires up to the northwest of me, and our weather comes from the west, just like everybody's. But in this hemisphere, I should say. But it's smoke. That's totally what's getting my eyes tonight. Okay, because I was out in it all day. We actually had a decent day today. Dorothy Curtis looks like she has a question. All right, so let's get back over here and let's start with George, a.k.a. Dad. Longtime viewer, has a 2004 Dutch Star like I used to have. We've connected over some of my RV how-to videos on the Dutch Stars in the past, and he's been a longtime viewer. And so glad to have you still here, George. So he says he's looking for a qualified contractor to diagnose, repair, or replace the Weather Pro awnings on their 2004 Dutch Star. The main awning would not power retract. He says he had to manually roll it up and secure it with a couple metal zip ties. The living room awning was damaged by a freak hailstorm in Southwest Florida before we headed back home. The local shops are not equipped to handle these large, heavy awnings. And that is a problem. I know when I had my awning replaced, I've got an awning story, so I guess I'll tell it. It's kind of an interesting story, I think. I was in Moab, Utah, and I was getting ready. I got packed up and headed to my next destination, which was the Wind Whistle Campground down in Needles, at the Needles district of Canyonlands. South of Moab, about 40 minutes, something like that. I was headed basically down that side of southern Utah. And so I got to Wind Whistle and went to detach the car, and I couldn't find my keys. And I looked everywhere, and I looked everywhere, and the only thing I could figure is I'd lost them at the RV park back in Moab. So I have a spare, of course. I got spares, got everything put away, got parked, called the RV park down in Moab, and they hadn't had the keys turned in. And okay, so anyway, I go on down to Valley of the Gods by Bluff, Utah, and I get set up down there, and out there I'm boondocking. And I get a call from the RV park in Moab when they have my keys. I'm excited because I had my bike lock keys, and there's just a bunch of keys, and plus, I don't get it. This is just a total ripoff, but Subaru wants $300 to replace this key. All right. Anyway, so I hurried up and guess I must have been excited. Jumped in the car, drove the 65, 70 miles back up to Moab, and I got there and realized that I hadn't figured out, or I hadn't checked to find out if they were my keys. Because they weren't. They had been claimed. And they hadn't bothered to call me back and let me know they had been claimed. So anyway, I ended up driving all the way back up to Moab. Well, when I got home, there must have been a microburst or something that came through, because it was wet, it was damp, but my awning was just wrenched. So anyway, I got it replaced on insurance. The company I had do it was in Tucson. They came to my site, got the measurements they needed, and then I went to their shop and got it replaced. Um, it also broke a window at the same time, and they replaced the window for me too. I figured since the insurance was paying for it, I'm just going to let them do it. But the reason I told that story was they had 4 guys and a man lift, one of those hydraulic, bucket, whatever things on wheels that they used to lift it up with. And like I said, they had 4 people, excuse me, to get that awning on. So it's no simple task. Remind me where you're at, George, location-wise. Because you might have to call, well, okay, let's talk about why it wouldn't come in. I suspect that it's just tired. And it's hard to say. You might double check the connections, the wire connections on the retraction button, okay? Make sure both are tight and in place. I did have mine bounce loose one time and was able to pop back the control panel and replace the wire that had popped off. So I would double check that on, since it's the same rig. But since you say it was damaged, there may be something else going on with it, and you would probably just have to call. Weather Pro, which I don't think, they're still out there. You might call Weather Pro and ask them for somebody that's near you, or you may have to go to a larger city. Now I don't look so blue. You may have to go to a bigger city. Your migration south will be coming up soon. You might be able to time it out to where you could stop on your migration south and get it fixed by a shop that's capable of doing awnings. They take a lot of work and a lot of people, a lot of manpower. Eric said he had trouble with his awning and discovered it was his controller. Interesting. Okay, Robert Black. Okay, let's see here. Just catching up. Oh, George is telling Judy they got a couple two stays in Alabama state parks on his 40-day wandering trip from New England to Florida. He makes that every year. Oh, Robert's in Monaville, Texas. Yeah. Has it cooled off any out there, Robert? Let's see. I'll come back to you, Joe, on your question in just a second here. I just want to scan ahead in the comments. Okay, looks like we've kind of got all. I just kind of looking ahead at the comments, and so we can catch up here. Alrighty, so on the airflow systems, basically all they are an improved duct. How do I? Let's see. I'm trying to describe this here for folks that may not know what these are. They're supposed to eliminate air friction and turbulence. I think that's what they're supposed to do on your rooftop air conditioner, which helps with the sound. It also helps with the efficiency, reduces the noise, and so on and so forth. Okay, I have no personal experience with them. I would say that if you have issues with your RV's AC not cooling your RV appropriately, then maybe you should consider it. If the noise of your ACs bother you, then maybe you should consider it. But just to do it because you think you need it, I don't know if I would go that far, okay? I have a real thing about accessories for your RV that don't really do much for you. But again, I don't have any firsthand experience with the airflow systems. But yeah, they're supposed to improve the airflow, reduce the turbulence and that stuff, which just improves your efficiency. It might make your AC work a little better. I just don't have any firsthand experience with it. I think you might also consider it if you spend a lot of time in hot climates, or muggy climates, where you need more efficiency with your AC. So, but I don't know. Does anybody in the chat? I know, I always lean on the old gray guys like me, the Roberts and Toms and Tim and those guys for a little hand up if they have any experience or heard of anything. I'll do a little research on them and see. But again, I think it's an accessory that, if you're having trouble, then maybe you should consider it. In all the time I had my RV, my 40-foot Class A, it had two 13,500 BTU air conditioners on the roof. Other than the month and a half extra I had to spend in Tucson because of COVID in 2020, I've never really had any issues with it cooling appropriately. And I've been in a lot of hot climates, 90, 95 degrees. But I tend to stay in the West, and so it's a lot less humid here, which ACs work better when it's not as humid. One of the jobs of an air conditioner is to remove water from the air. So that's what I could tell you, Joe. Regina Woods from Kentucky. Let's see, Judy. Okay, they're exchanging some information. Laverna Braxton, hot water heater, electric not working, but gas does. Let's see, it's wires, but it looks like we got cut off. Let's see, Lavina. Okay, so let me scan down here. Okay, I don't see any additional on that. Okay, Lavina. Well, anytime you have any kind of electrical problems like that, which it sounds like, the first thing you want to do is check your circuit breakers and make sure your circuit breakers are, reset or they're working properly. Oftentimes on those electric water heaters, there may be a reset inside the water heater cabinet itself. It's easy enough to go outside the RV, flip the little handle, lift that cabinet lid off, look in there for any circuit breakers. That's a good time to do a visual inspection for anything like insect nests, wasp, bee nests, any kind of spider webs that might be blocking any kind of ventilation vents or anything like that. And if you're good on all of those accounts, then it could be you have an electrode failed, the heating element. How old is your RV? How old is your water heater? Okay, here it is. Okay, second half to put Jen on to burn some gas off. Any ideas what happened or fix this issue? Okay. Oh, that's Dorothy. Okay, sorry. So Lavina, well, how old is it? But those are the top things I would look for. You may have to get a repair tech if you're not comfortable, but changing the water heater element is not difficult at all. And if the element tests good, and there's ways to test it with a voltmeter if you have one, then it could be a control board problem. That's where you start to get into a more specialized kind of repairs that you may have to go to your RV repair guy for. However, with just a little bit of web searching, you're certain to find a repair manual, and you want to look for something called a technical repair manual, or a technician's manual, or a troubleshooting manual for your specific model of water heater, and there's typically very good step-by-step instructions on how to troubleshoot specific issues like that. So that's what I could tell you about your electric working, not working, but the gas does. The fact that the gas does, and that that tells me that more than likely the control board's good, and the water heater still works just fine. It's something to do with that heater element or the breaker for that heater element. Okay, let me just scan back here, make sure I didn't miss anything. Dorothy, I only got part of your question, and unless I'm missing it here, I'm kind of scanning back trying to find it. Dorothy asks, second half, put Jen on to burn some gas off. Any ideas what happened or fix this issue? I don't see the first half of your question, Dorothy. I'll scan down here a little bit. Okay, let's see. Georgia. Okay, Tom Downey. He says they lost their awning on the Deception Pass during 75-mile-an-hour winds. It was completely off. I did the install, and it was a bear of a job. And they aren't cheap. Yes, I believe that all in, everything said and done, it was $4,000 for the awning. No, $3,000 for the awning and $900 for my window. So what happened was, is when the awning broke, it swung back and it broke the bedroom window. Fortunately, it was double paned, so it wasn't that big a deal. Well, it was, but it wasn't. You know what I mean? The bummer part of that was I couldn't get the awning style window, which was really nice because you could open it in the rain. It was an awning out window, you know, one that came out like this. All right, back to the comments here. If I've missed anything, just double comment down here so I can pick up on it. George is home in Western Mass. Motor turned but would not turn the awning. Oh, okay, so that's probably there's a drive gear in there that's busted. And yeah, it's not that difficult to take those ends off. The trick is there you have to catch those springs inside of there. There's usually a hole, and you place a very small screwdriver or something down that hole once you get it lined up with the awning cover, and that will, you know, hold that spring from springing back. Because if that springs back, then you got a double bear of a job trying to get that wound back up. So yeah, but it sounds like something inside broke. Probably a gear, maybe the drive shaft from the motor. It could be maybe like a set screw stripped out. There's a number of scenarios it could be. But yeah, it's definitely something with the drive gears. Jim Bertrand's in. Hi, Jim. So nice to see you tonight. Regina Wood, she says, why do I think her heat pump keeps running? I'm full hookup and have my pump switched off. I don't know. Do you know what kind of system you have? If you shoot me a follow-up to that, Regina. And yeah, Regina's out there in Kentucky where they've had all those horrible floods. Last I saw, there was 30 people that had been killed. And thanks for the reminder, Tim. In fact, it is about half past. And that's usually about the time that I do the shameless commercial and ask you for that thumbs up if you're so inclined. It helps get the video ranked up. If you're not subscribed, do subscribe. Ring the notification bell. I do this every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Much to the disdain to one commenter, which I'll talk about in a minute. Any question is open game. We'll try to answer it, and if we can't find an answer, then I'll write it down and address it the next week. If you're shy and you don't want to put your question over in the chat window, you can send me an email, trbolin@gmail.com. That'll get to me. I'm usually pretty good about getting back to you within 24. The last couple weeks it's been 48 hours. I've just been a little bit busier than normal. Not paying too close attention to the email. Visit my Amazon store. Visit Amazon through the link in the description of this video. That will take you to my Amazon store. And then you can depart from there, go anywhere you'd like, purchase what you'd like, and I'll get a small commission. You'll pay the same price. And I thank you for that in advance. And then, of course, a quick visit over to my website is always welcomed, trboland.com. Thank you so much. I sure love having everybody here on a regular basis. Oh, and then be sure and share and tell your friends. Oh, Robert says it's cooled off to 97. It was 115. Okay, let's see. We do have some follow-ups here. Okay, let me just, I just jumped here. George, trip south is okay. No, thank you, Tim. Is in eastern Kentucky. Okay. Nice. Nebraska. Okay. I'm thinking he's responding to the question about the airflow systems. And he says they work well, but pricey for what they are. Yeah, I just went and looked real quick, and yeah, there's not much to them. He says you can make your own a lot cheaper. They also keep the hot side hot and cold side cold. Interesting. Yeah, and that's always a good one too. That RV airflow systems. Check them out on YouTube. I know that I saw one of the RV channels that I watch do talk about it. Oh gosh, but it's been a year, maybe two, and I just don't remember who it might have been. But there's a few RV channels I watch out there, and I do remember somebody talking about it and how it was supposed to be, really improve your efficiency. I think you'd have to do a lot, and a couple of little pieces of plastic and improving the airflow. I don't know is going to do all that much good, but I don't know. Okay, Lavina says she's 10 years old. Well, her water heater's 10 years old. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to stick with what I originally said. It's definitely something electrical. It's probably just that the heating element has just worn out, and what they do is they'll short out, and they're fairly inexpensive and easy to replace. While you're replacing it, replace the anode. There is a piece of magnesium bar about that long that will be screwed into a plug with a plug in the bottom of that water heater, and you should probably go ahead and replace that because that is sacrificial. It helps make sure the water heater doesn't get full of calcium and get plugged up. Plugged up. Boy, I'm sure full of junk tonight. Must be this damn smoke. You're welcome, Joe. Judy White's in. Great. From New Hampshire. Excellent. I love that country up there. I was driving one time from, south of Boston. We had a project office, and I was going back to Freeport, Maine. And New Hampshire apparently has cheap liquor or low liquor tax, because the first exit, I think it's on 95, when you cross into New Hampshire from Massachusetts, is a liquor store. And it's actually the exit for the liquor store. I think that's the only thing that's there. So thumbs up to New Hampshire. Anyway, great to have you here tonight. Thanks for joining me. I did not, Eric. I did not. I don't believe I did. Oh, I have my email closed right now. Let me pop that open real quick. And I'll do a quick search here. But I don't believe I got an email. I had a problem. I had a real problem with Tom Downey getting email to me too. I'll give you a different one that you could try that doesn't have the strict spam filters on it that I have on my Gmail account. And that's TRB at trboland.com. You can also try to email me there. and that way it won't get trapped in some kind of a spam filter. You know, I get a short beep ton of spam on my Gmail account, especially since I have the YouTube channel. I'm constantly getting offers for crap that have absolutely no bearing on what this channel does. And, you know, I just ignore them. And then I always get these ones. Oh, I was so excited the other day. I got this one that, you know, I've been thinking about, you know, one of those portable battery systems, right? You know, the Blue Eddies or the Jackeries and stuff. In fact, we chatted about the Jackery. Oh, it's been a couple months ago now. And I wouldn't mind having one of those, but I'd sure like to do a review on one so I could have one for free. Okay, so hey, I'm sorry. But I got an email from this company. Man, it sure looked professional and everything. But it had the keywords in it that are the flag for spam. Not case sensitive, Eric. And that is, what is your advertising rate for your channel? And that is a sure red flag that it's a spam. It's a spam comment or spam email. So I kind of have that. Also, another one that's been going around, and let's just address this real quick. I will never ask you or have any kind of a contest that you would have to log in or send me anything, period, in a conversation. There's this Telegram thing going around, this hitting a lot of the bigger channels, where, you know, they're giving you some kind of contact me on Telegram, or they give you a WhatsApp number or any of that stuff. If you ever see anything like that from me, ignore it. It's not me. I don't do that. I won't do that. Okay, back to the comments. Yeah, Dorothy, thanks. The first part didn't post. Try again. Okay, so I see your comment. Let's see. I am going to just quick scan here. Water pump. My bad. Okay. Okay, Regina says it's not my heat pump, my water pump. My bad, I'm blonde. Okay, water pump. Okay, if it keeps cycling, you got a leak somewhere, and you need to get it addressed right away. Well, excuse me, back up. Roll back just a second. You're on full hookups. You shouldn't have your water pump on. You shouldn't have your water pump on if you're on full hookups. You shouldn't need it. Now, why it keeps cycling while you're on full hookups, I don't know. If you weren't on full hookups and it was cycling, I would say you have a leak. But since you're on full hookups and it's cycling, I wonder, it might be that the water pressure is dropping below the threshold of what the pump will generate, which is usually around 40. So your RV pumps will run from about 40 psi, they'll go up to 60, and then they shut off. So that's kind of their operating range. And it could very well be that the RV park you're in, that the water pressure on the incoming line, okay, on your from the pedestals, may be dropping below the set point of the water pump when it's triggered to turn on, and that may be why it's cycling. But you shouldn't need it on at all. So it shouldn't be turned on only when you're not hooked up to utility water. Okay, RV park, home, wherever, potable, you know, water. You shouldn't have to run it any other time if you're, unless you're not hooked up to water. Hopefully that helps. Dorothy Curtis. Okay, this is a common problem. I kind of read your comment ahead while I was 2004 Safari Sahara, fill gas tank in AM, next night, I think. Next, right side leaking gas, open gas cap, about half gushing out. Live in Arizona. What might have happened? Ran the gen to burn off some gas. Okay, so gasoline, if you fill it in the morning, and their tanks were just filled. So here's the scenario. You go to this wherever you get your gasoline. They just got a fresh load of gasoline, which is cool, all right? It's been stored in a tank. It doesn't get hot, okay? Plus, it's stored in the ground usually, and the ground usually will stay, even in Arizona, 60 degrees or so. So you fill your tank up, and then you go home and park, and you're in 105 degree temperature, and gasoline expands. Okay, most everything will expand when you heat it up. And so what's happened is you filled the tank full, and then that gasoline got hot and expanded. And so it basically overfilled the tank and pressurized it a little bit. And so that's what would cause the leaking gas on the right side. The cap probably just wasn't tight, or maybe the gasket in the cap is not good anymore. You might need to replace the cap. But a bigger thing is you might not want to fill your tank clear full in the summer down there. Gasoline expands a lot more than diesel, okay, but diesel will expand as well. So that's what's happening, is that you're putting cool fuel in your gas tank, you're getting to a hot location, you're stopping, that gasoline is expanding, and the tank is so full that there's no headroom for the gas to expand into. And yeah, you'll take off a gas cap and it'll blow gasoline or diesel everywhere. More typically gasoline. And so yeah, you want to just be careful that in the summer you're not totally topping off your tank. Hope that helps, Dorothy. Thank you, Tim, for reminding that. Oh, there you go. Would be a 67 degrees, clear as a bell. Yeah, we had 1/100th of an inch of rain about 4:30 this morning, and then it's been about 80% humidity all day. I tried to go out and work in it a little while. I edited videos all morning. Well, most of the morning. And then I went out to work a little while, put a couple of segments on the roof of my truck camper, and I worked about an hour and a half and said, to hell with that. I mean, I was just saturated. It was so muggy. Dorothy Curtis says, sorry, it was the next day when I saw it leaking. It doesn't matter. It's the same scenario. The gasoline heated up. It overfilled the tank. And yeah, then it was leaking out of the cap because the gas in the cap and the tank had expanded so much. So yeah, just try to avoid getting clear full with gasoline when you fill up in the summer. Shouldn't be a problem in the cooler temperatures, when it gets 80, 85 daytime temperatures and stuff like that. You shouldn't probably have a problem with that. There we go. Yeah, Tim just asked her the same question. So yeah. No, same heat going on recently. Brought our rig home, filled up on actually hotter. Didn't have that happen. Probably because you didn't get the tank quite as full. I bet you got the tank too full, or just. I'm almost positive that's what it was, Dorothy. Is that the tank was full, it warmed up, expanded, and also you might have been sitting on a bit of an angle or something like that when you filled. So if you were like this, the tank overfilled, you leveled out, you get to the RV park, you get all level, and yeah, it could be a blowing out of any one of the sides. But yeah, that's almost positive that's what it is. Regina says her water pump is turned off. Then the damn thing is possessed by the devil. Okay, I don't know about your rig, Regina, but I know in mine, I had 3 different places where I could turn the water pump on, convenience switches. There was one up at the front panel, there was one in the bathroom, and then there was one in my water bay. And you want to walk around and make sure, if you have more than one, make sure they're all turned off. And if they are all turned off and it is still running, I have no clue. It is possessed. Call the exorcist. Hopefully that's not going to make anybody upset. You got to be so damn careful anymore. Judy's laughing. Eric, not case sensitive. Okay. Tim Myers, no, same heat. Okay, Regina, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Maybe she does not have the valve switched to normal operation for shore water. Yeah, Robert, and that could be the case, but a lot of times there's really no switching the valve. The only time you really need to operate the valve is when you're filling your freshwater tank. At least that was my condition, what I had. Yeah, Tim suggests a bad switch. Yeah, Regina has a 15 Jayco Greyhawk. It could be a bad switch, absolutely. Dorothy Curtis. Okay, I'll cycle back. Okay, Regina. So if my water pump is turned off, why does it keep cycling on? Makes a humming sound. Yeah, and then Tim says bad switch, and I think that's a good possibility too. Is that maybe one of your switches is given up and it's just constantly turned on. And if you don't have a bad switch, somewhere somehow something is going on with that pump. And it may be that the pump itself is failing, but that is switched ground because it's three-way or multiple ways. Yeah, I don't know. If it's turned off, yeah, it could be a bad switch. Judy, I'll cycle back on you. Okay, thank you. Thanks for letting me know. Let's see. Okay, catching up. I do. Okay, Dorothy Curtis asks, I do need new gas cap gaskets. Where would I get new ones? Well, you could go to a parts store, but you're unlikely to be able to find them. Typically, those gaskets, they're O-rings. Excuse me. They might be gaskets, but they're typically O-rings of some sort. And you probably are just going to end up having to replace your gas cap. But just take one of your gas caps into a parts store. Any parts store should have it. There's nothing too special about RV gas caps. They're usually the same exact fill spout as you'd find on your 60 or your 85 Chevy, right? I mean, they're pretty much all a standard size. There's a few minor differences in them, like some screw, some have, lugs that latch it up. But yeah, just take the gas cap with you to the parts store. Expect to pay $12 to $15, maybe with inflation, $18 for a new gas cap. But that's probably what you're going to end up having to do, Dorothy. Yeah, Tim's got it. Be careful. Okay, from Tom Downey. Be certain you have vented tanks or the tank flexes and can cause a cracking in the tank because of old oil canning, is what he means to say. His tank cracked because of that. $2,400 for a new tank. Yeah, like I say, I would just probably go to replace the gas caps. But my guess is it got over full and it got hot and the gas expanded. All right, so let me run back here and find hang on here, just trying to make sure. Got lost right after Dorothy's Safari question. Okay. Judy, all I got was an LOL. Let's see here. Judy. It could be. Let me do this. Let me do a resort here real quick. This ought to really goof things up for me. Okay. I might have to have you ask. Oh, okay, Robert there. Okay, so I kind of got myself goofed up here. I am missing. I got your LOL, Judy. And then I didn't see your question. Am I just not seeing it? Are my eyes that bad tonight? Sorry, folks. I'm just trying to scan here and pick up. Judy, if you wouldn't mind re-asking the question. I just don't seem to be able to pick up on it. They don't give us a search, which is something I wish they had in these. Judy from Paul from New Hampshire. Okay, I see that one. case sensitive, no. Dorothy. Okay, I just am not seeing it here. If anybody else in the chat is seeing that, uh, I guess let me know. I'm sure happy to try to answer it. I just don't see the question there. Okay, so Regina says she has switched. I have a switch in the bathroom off and one in the wet bay. All right, so yeah, let's circle back and say that it sounds like Tim might be onto something, that you got a bad switch. I wanted to address something that Tom Downey brought up that maybe folks don't know what he means by when he says oil canning. And so my understanding of oil canning is that the tank twists and turns and it collapses. And so they call that oil canning. Anyway, just to let folks know. I think that's what you're probably referring to. Oh yeah, Tim, that's a good point, but he says if the fill normal valve is on fill, the water pump will run with no pressure. If that valve leaks, the pump can apply pressure through the normal fill switch and run periodically as well. Yeah, that's a possibility too. But yeah, I would start by trying to eliminate the bad switch, and then I think it might be something in the pump. But a 2015, that's only, you're a full timer, right, Regina? Well, Tim, I wouldn't think they would be wired wrong because it's probably been working fine until just recently. I'm going to assume that. Roundtown Scouter says he has a 98 Fleetwood Discovery. Fueling diesel takes 20 to 30 minutes to pump 60 gallons. It will burp fuel back at you if you pump too fast. Can't set nozzle to the first setting. Any ideas? Well, Roundtown, is that at the semi line or is that in like the standard RV line? So are you at a high flow pump or at a regular flow pump? The second thing is that do you only have one fill cap? Because my Dutch Star, Robert's Dutch Star, Tom's Mountaineer have fuel fills on both sides. And I know that when I was filling mine, I would always, especially if I was on the high flow pumps, like over in the truck, on the truck lanes, I would walk over and I would open the other side and allow it to vent out much better. And that would help me get my tank fuller too, because I could hardly ever get my tank completely full. So that is something you might look at. The other thing is there may be, in some of those gas necks, there's a little flapper valve that sits right there kind of where the pipe goes through. And if for some reason that flapper valve it could be restricting the flow somehow, if it wasn't opening all the way, you might take a screwdriver and just make sure that it works, if you have one, that it works well, that it moves back and forth appropriately. But yeah, it shouldn't take that long. Then the other thing is that you may have a vent plugged on the fuel tank. In other words, it's not venting air, that's why it's burping. And there should be a vent on that fuel tank that goes to some kind of a canister, what they call the EGR, the gas recovery canister, part of the emissions system. And even on the 98s, they had a little bit of emission control. So that canister there might be something up with that canister. So usually what it is that it'll take vapors from the fuel tank up to this canister, the idea behind the canister is that the fuel will turn from vapor back into liquid, settle to the bottom of the canister, and then eventually get sucked up and sent through, sometimes back through the fuel system or sometimes to the um, exhaust system. So you might have a vent plugged. That might be something you want to look for. And that's what Tom was saying there too. Yeah, good point, Tom. Tom says it should have vented the tank if overfilled. Yeah, well, it should have, but you don't know, again, what was going on. And this just kind of applies back to Dorothy's question, too, about dumping fuel. Maybe her vent's plugged. I don't know. I've not really heard ever about the vents getting plugged on fuel tanks. I mean, it's certainly possible. Anything's possible. It's a machine, and machines break. So, but yeah, around town, that's crazy that it takes that long. So yeah, you got a vent problem, or like I say, maybe the little flapper, if you have one of those installed, um, is restricting something. But yeah, it sounds to me like you got a vent plugged. Okay. Oh, okay. Here we go. Sorry. Thanks, Judy, for repeating your question. I just did not see that. I don't know what happened to it. 20,015. View, Winnebago, having trouble with the rear view camera intermittently working. Okay, so it's probably a loose connection. It's easy enough to pop the camera off the back, look to see if there's a connection in there. Make sure that everything's tight. If there is a connection of some sort in there, either coaxial or, there's any kind of a connection in there, there usually is. You might want to clean that. Just use isopropyl alcohol and some kind of a, depending upon what it looks like, but just take and wipe that pin, wipe the connector down inside and out with alcohol, let it dry out, and put it back together. And then also take a little bit of electrical tape if you have it, and just wrap the connection with electrical tape. That will just help make sure that it's just not sitting there bumping, bouncing as you go down the road and juggling loose. And then you'll need to check the back of your camera, your monitor, where the camera comes to, and make sure that connection is good, solid, tight. It's unlikely to be terribly dirty, but it could be loose. Remember, an RV is a rolling earthquake, and stuff bounces, and things come loose. And that typically is an intermittent is typically caused by a wire, a connection, something like that coming loose. I hope that helps. Thank you for looking, Tim. You're welcome, Regina. Okay, Judy says, Paul has pulled the display out to check for loose wires, but it still works intermittently. Okay. Again, I would check back at the camera. And then if everything is still good there, when is it intermittent? When you're static or when you're rolling down the road? And what is the temperature outside? Can you follow up with those two, Judy? Well, you don't have to worry about the wires where they go to the back of the RV. That's not a problem. There should be the camera will be mounted on the top cowling, probably, of your RV at the top. And there's probably just a couple screws there to remove it. And inside of there's going to be a cable that comes up, and that camera's going to have a cable that plugs into it. And that could be loose. Okay, have you tried opening the second fill cap? Yeah, he only has one cap, so that's then your tank's vent. There's something wrong with the tank vent, and you'll need to trace that system down. Um, you know, a hose could be pinched or maybe even leaking. Well, I wouldn't think it would be leaking, now that I think about it. But yeah, you got to check your vent. There should be a vent on that tank, and for some reason or another, that vent is not working. Yeah, Tom says that's a good point, which is why I was talking about the little flapper valve thing. He may have an anti-siphon valve installed. That will fill the slow. Yeah, but 60 gallons, that's a half a gallon a minute. Okay, 20 to 30 minutes to pump 60 gallons. That's a half a gallon a minute. There's something, I mean, that could be a part of it. But yeah, it sounds to me like a tank vent. Okay, Judy says static and 80 degrees. Okay, well, if it's not a loose connection, then the camera might be overheating and shutting itself off. That's hard to diagnose, but if you can catch it when it is intermittent, run outside real quick and touch that camera. Feel that camera. If it's hot, that could be a problem as well. How old your rig again? Do we know? How old your rig, Judy? Let's see. Did you mention that? 2015. So 7 years. So 7 years. Yeah. That it could be the camera. If it gets hot, you want to run out and check it, because remember, the air temperature is 80, but if it's sitting with direct sun on it, it could be 115 or 20 right at that camera. And after years and years of that being exposed to the sun like that, they'll wear out. And there's good replacements available out there. And if you'd like to get one from Amazon, you can do that through the link in the description of this video and support the channel. Thank you very much. Okay, what are we coming up on? Oh, 8 o'clock. So that hour went fast. All right. Great. I feel like we had a really good session tonight. I'm sorry I got a little bullocked up on the comments. There's two ways to view your chat. You may not know this. There is top chat, and then there's live chat. And I actually had set, I used to almost always go to live chat, and I goofed up and I had it set to top. Tim Meyer says, Winnebago will provide digital drawings showing the routing of your wires for the camera. All you can do is have someone whacking the wiring while another watches the image to see what happens. Yeah, and that's why you need to find out. I'm sure there's connection in there behind that camera. I'm almost positive there's a connection behind that camera, and you should make sure that it's good and clean. Like I say, clean it with isopropyl, put it back together, reassemble it onto the RV, and then the next time it goes intermittent, run out there and see how hot the camera is. And if it's really hot, then yeah, it's probably the camera itself. When they get hot like that, the electronics, capacitors get old and tired. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that can happen inside of the camera to cause it to fail. I had to replace the cameras on my 04, and I actually added 2 side view cameras and a different monitor when I did it. That's a good point, Robert. Robert says we're routing back to Roundtown Scouter. Diesel filler hose collapsed below the filler collar somewhere, and that's a damn good idea, Robert. Thank you. And then of course Roundtown, yeah, maybe a poor ground camera. Yeah, and you would know that by wiggling the connections and stuff like that, like Tim was mentioning. But yeah, the first thing is to check that connection, make sure it's tight now, clean, and yeah, you can usually find replacement cameras. They run anywhere from $60 to $100. They're not very expensive for a really good one, but make sure you get one that has at least 170 degree view. All right, that'll trip you up. But 170 degree view gives you almost the full width of the back of your RV, or you know what you're looking at. So 170 degrees is key there. And Roundtown Scouter's going to check his filler hose. Judy says thanks to Robert. And with that, at the stroke of 8 o'clock, we will say goodnight unless there are other questions that come in. I'll hang here for just a moment. All right, I mentioned I was going to talk about something. I won't show you this to keep the commenter anonymous. But I got a comment on last week's replay video of the live stream. He says, make some quality content, please. Me and my snotty attitude, I said, move along, sir. He says, how about you stop making the same streams over and over again and find something original to do? And I responded, I have 300 videos on my channel. If you can't find something interesting and original in any of them, I don't know what to tell you. And then he says, dude, you've been doing the same RV questions for months now, and they all have the same title. Nobody even cares. Well, Mr. Commenter, if you don't like the content, join the communication, join the chat, throw a new content comment out there, whatever you want. I'm happy to try to answer any question. All right? But that's the nature of this thing, is we get folks that come through. We got the regular viewers, we got the Tims and the Roberts and the Erics and the Toms and all those guys that have been doing this a long time, and I kind of depend on them. I'm glad we've got this community together to help throw in ideas that I can't think of on the fly here. As I get older, it's harder to think of those on the fly. But yeah, and then I think I wonder if maybe he's confused that I haven't changed the cover slide, you know, for a year. And so maybe it's time I did that. And so we'll talk about that next week. If you get to see a new cover slide on the stream next week, then you'll know what I did. But we're going to call this good for tonight. Hey, thanks everybody so much for watching. I surely do appreciate it. I do appreciate your support more than you even know. Your help by visiting my Amazon store, visiting Amazon through my store, and or visiting my website, or sharing this with your friends, or just giving me that thumbs up. You know, I just can't say enough. I think we have a great community here. That's why I wanted to do this, and so happy to have you here every night. Oh, we've got Wanda. She watches all the time and finds something new all the time. Thank you. You're welcome, Wanda. Thank you. Ben Whitting says he appreciates the content. Keep it up. It helps me out a lot. Thanks. Scott Mogich says if I had more thumbs, I'd give more than 2 thumbs up. Thank you, Scott. And then Roundtown Scouter, you're just a great guy. Jim Bertrand, as always. Thanks. We'll see you guys next week, Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Till then, peace. Good night.